Hi everyone, welcome to A Godly Home. This video is the first video in a struggle meals series that I'm going to be doing. It is part of a collaboration that is being hosted by City Girl Homestead. Now the reason why she started this collaboration right now is because the price of groceries has gotten crazy and we keep hearing from viewers that they are struggling to put food on the table. And we know that so many are afraid of losing their food stamps right now. So I have a lot of experience in struggle meals. My husband has mostly worked in the logging industry, which is seasonal, which means that he generally gets layoffs every spring, and sometimes in the fall time, if we get a lot of rain, he will get a layoff too. Also, doing that kind of work, the paychecks are very sporadic. Like you might get one big one, and then the next week a small one, and then a medium one, and then like none for a week, and it won't be enough to get like a layoff. But like equipment or something will be broke down, so they just won't be any work, no paycheck. That's kind of the way we have always lived. And what we've learned to do is never spend more than we need to, so that we always have some extra up ahead. And I try to keep a very well-stocked pantry so that, at least we could eat for a month without going to the store in an emergency like's going on now. But, over the years, I've been able to expand it to longer than a month. But anyhow, I have so many tips, so many ideas on this type of thing. And one of the things that I do as soon as there's a lack of work is I make do with what I have for as long as I have, buying the very least necessary. Like absolute necessities, buying the least necessary. You will be surprised when you start digging through your cupboards what odds and ends of ingredients you can come up with that you can get used up to make meals without purchasing anything. Even if you have to get a little bit creative and it's not really like a recipe, but it'll work. Also, I never let food spoil. Like if I have a tiny bit of a little leftover of one thing and a little bit of a leftover of another thing, then my husband and I will warm up two different things and make it a meal. If I have one baked potato and a few green beans left over, I will figure out how to use them into the next meal. We don't let food go to waste because it adds up quickly. Okay, now, I always shop sales. I always clip digital coupons, but I never clip digital coupons that are on products I don't normally use unless it's like one of those digital coupons that's for like a free item, because you can get caught up in that where they're dragging you into purchasing items that you don't normally use. Or if you see one of those digital coupons right now and it's like spend this much, say this much, if that's way out of the price range of what you were going to spend, don't even be drug into that. Just get what you absolutely need and stretch out that way for as long as you can. Some things right now, if you're really hard up, save your hamburger grease, put that in the refrigerator. You can use that for a few days for grease and recipes. Save your bacon grease, put it in the refrigerator. You can use that for like quite a while for recipes. I think they say a month, but I have gone way past that. Make use of everything. Don't let one drop of anything go to waste. Just think outside the box. How can I use this? How can I not waste this, even if this is something that I don't normally cook with? Is there a way to use this? And you will be shocked how far in an emergency situation you can make this stuff last. I also always make sure that the things I absolutely do have in my cupboard during an emergency situation is the ingredients for me to make bread, and not expensive bread that requires milk and eggs and all of this. I just use flour, water, yeast, some sort of a grease, a tiny bit of sugar, and salt. I've showed it a million times on the channel, but if you'd like to have me show you how to make one loaf of bread or 2 loaves of bread or whatever using that very basic recipe that doesn't take a lot of ingredients, I can do that. Just leave me a comment, because if you serve bread with your meals, homemade bread, it's not going to take much of the other. It's going to be filling, and people are going to be content, and they are going to be happy. And struggle meals are not necessarily bad meals. In fact, some of our favorite meals have come out of the struggle times, because you get more creative and you learn better cooking skills. And that's how some of our family favorites have developed. So I hope that you can look at this time and embrace it, even though it's a hard time, and let some good things come from it. And of course, I never in any situation am not praying to the Lord and asking for his wisdom and his help. I have a little tip for you this morning on coffee, okay? Or tea, or whatever hot breakfast beverage you like to drink in the morning. I have my cup of coffee. I always make my coffee at home. I do not make it in a Keurig or anything like that, because those little cups are going to be, more expensive. I make it in a percolator pot. And in fact, let me get my pot. Hold on just a second. Okay, I make mine in an old-fashioned percolator pot like this for several reasons. One, I like strong coffee, but this inside has a stainless steel basket that doesn't require a store-bought filter, and I just wash it out and it's reusable forever. If I drop this on the floor, it's not going to break like one of the drip pots with the glass pot, so the pot is going to last me way longer than anybody else's pot. That's how I choose to make coffee. Make coffee in what you have, but if you're using a Keurig, go get one of those washable filters that allows you to get just the big store brand coffee and put it in there yourself instead of paying extra for the prepackaged. It only takes a second to take that filter and rinse that under hot water, and then get it ready for the next cup you want. All right, so my coffee. Back to the main point. I always make it at home. When I get done making it, it goes into a thermos. This will stay hot from a percolator pot 24 hours. From a drip pot or something else, I'm not sure, but it's going to stay hot as long as you want it throughout the day. This saves me so much money. This is a Stanley thermos. You can get this into Walmart. It is not expensive. You could even go thrifting for a thermos. But this is my top choice for a thermos. Okay, so what does this do? Well, first of all, if I need to leave the house, this goes with me. My cup's on top. I have my coffee with me. I'm not tempted to stop and waste money on purchasing a coffee. But also, throughout the day, my coffee is done. It's ready. I'm not having to microwave it, or some people will dump the coffee out they didn't drink in the morning, like if there's a half a pot left because it doesn't taste good anymore, and make a new pot. This stays just as fresh and tasting just as good as it did when you made it. In the next day, if you've got some left in here and it has cooled down and you need to microwave it, then it still tastes fresh, like fresher than if you left it out half a day and microwaved it, because it's sealed in here. So this is like a number one tip. Now, if you drink tea, whatever, you could put that in here. But people are spending a lot of money right now on takeout coffees, and maybe you're in that routine, but this might be the time that you could make a change and really save some money towards your regular groceries. And honestly, you guys, just a store brand can of coffee right now is expensive enough. Like, I'm shocked when I go to get it, how high the cost is without paying somebody else to get it ready for you. And I know you're busy and you want a coffee partway through the day and whatever, but this may be the best tip I give you during this series, okay? I also do not buy like half and half cream or flavored creamers or anything like that. I just get the big thing of the dry coffee mate powder, which stretches forever and ever, and it works great in the thermos bottle. All right, now I am going to take you over to the stove, and I am going to show you a very inexpensive breakfast that you can make. You could eat it for any meal, but I'm going to have it for breakfast with this cup of coffee. So come along and join me. Here we are over at the stove, and what we are going to make is some cornmeal mush. Now, some of you probably have made oatmeal, and you might have even made cream of wheat, and you might have even made grits, okay? But I live in Maine, so what we eat for hot cereal is cornmeal mush. So you want just a plain bag of cornmeal. Doesn't have to be this brand, but just plain cornmeal, okay? This is my favorite brand, though. Now, I have been using this bag. It is a 2-pound bag all summer to roll my fish in. Now, my husband and I fish, so we always have fresh fish on hand. We have a river just out back of the house, and any single time that my husband has a minute during the summer, he'll just go down to the river and he'll come back with a string of fish. We'll clean them, we'll pop them in the freezer, eat what we want of them, whatever. We usually have enough fish to go straight through the winter. In addition to that, in my town, we have down over the hill from us, we have a pond. A few miles down the road, we have a lake. A few more miles the other direction, we have another pond. Like, that's just something that we can do. And maybe you can't do that, but if you have fish on hand, the only thing you need to cook fish is just take the fish, roll it in cornmeal, put just a little bit of some sort of grease in the pan, not like to deep fry, but just like enough to coat the pan, and just pan cook that fish. So I've had a whole summer's worth of fish. We ate fish at least once a week, and it's been rolled in here. And I also have had cornbread at least once throughout the summer out of this bag. Now, I've got it opened. And the reason why I've chosen this is because I've just talked to you about, look around your house. What can you make do with what you've got? Well, geez, a partial bag of cornmeal. Let's get this used up. I'm going to start by adding 3 cups of water to my pan and bringing it to a boil. Okay, I'm going to turn that up on medium-high, and I am going to add to that water a little bit of salt. It's to preference, but I got a little kosher salt here. Put a little salt in there. Okay, now, in another bowl, or in a bowl, I'm going to put 1 cup of this cornmeal in. Okay. And then 1 cup of cold water. And while I'm waiting for that water to get boiling, I am going to just be working on getting this all stirred together. And what this is going to do is this is going to keep this from going in there and just wanting to immediately clump up. Okay, so the beauty of cornmeal mush is it's great as a hot cereal. There's a way to use the leftovers, which I can show you in an upcoming video. It's very versatile, okay? You could do all kinds of stuff with this once you get the base made, depending on what you have in your cupboards when you've done the inventory. I'm going to be adding just some molasses to mine, okay? I always have molasses, and that's a great thing to use. If you don't have molasses, you could use brown sugar, you could use white sugar, you could use a little spoonful of jelly, you could use maple syrup, you could use fruit if you have any fruit on hand that needs to be used up. Use, what you have. That's the biggest thing I'm trying to drive home with struggle meals. Use what you have. We see so many meals where they go into the store and they got X amount of money and they pick up, X amount of ingredients, and this is the meal, and when they're done, they've used every bit of what they picked up, and that's just one meal. But that's not how I shop, because ingredients are going to take you way further than packages of things that are gone in one meal, if that makes sense. Like, I don't buy an instant package of potatoes that I'm going to mix up a pouch and it's one meal. I'm going to buy a bag of potatoes that is going to do me multiple meals and is versatile in the way that I use it. I'm not going to buy a cookie mix that gives me, hardly any cookies. I am going to make sure that I have flour and sugar and baking powder and baking soda on hand. Okay, because I can make a sugar cookie out of that for like almost nothing and have a lot of good cookies that are filling without the preservatives and things, rather than this little pack of something. And I'm not saying that that's wrong if that's how, some people do it and they're able to keep their costs down. But I'm not going to show you a lot of that, because that's not how I cook. And that's not what I do during struggle times. I make do with what I have and get the bare minimum of what I absolutely need to make it work. I forgot to say, after I measured out that 1 cup of cornmeal, I still have enough in there that I can make a cornbread, because when I make a cornbread, I use part cornmeal and part regular flour. Okay, now that this is boiling, I'm going to turn it down to medium heat, and I am going to add this right in. And all I am going to do is I am going to continue to stand here and stir this until it cooks and thickens. When you're in a time of struggle, you don't worry too much about if you follow all the food rules that everybody sets for you. You just make sure that you have food to eat, and like for me, preferably not processed food, just food from basic ingredients, and that is the most important, that you eat. Not that, you're supposed to have this many fruits, this many vegetables, this many meat per person. Just eat. And people say, well, you can't eat like that for an extended amount of time. Listen to me. We ate like this daily for like 10 years, and we did not have any health problems. And I'm not a doctor, and this is not medical advice, but I'm just saying these situations are not as dramatic as what people try to make out. We ate like that long term. The generations before us ate like this long term. What do you think people did in horse and buggy days? They ate simple meals like this. The Depression, people ate simple meals and they lived to tell about it. They wouldn't have survived if they were worried about the nutritional pyramid and if they got the exact servings. Also, you cannot, during a time of struggle, worry about the latest fad diet. You're just trying to survive. Okay, that's done. And I am shutting it off before it boils all over the place. I caught it just in the nick of time with just a couple of little splatters. Okay, here we go. If you have a certain way that you have to eat for a medical reason, like you're diabetic or something, yes. But otherwise, just eat the best you can to eat during a struggle time. If you're diabetic or something and you don't have the money for groceries, something like that, well, either way, if you don't have money for groceries, do you have a local food cupboard? Like our town years ago did not. They do now. But when we were struggling, we didn't have a food cupboard, but what we did have is a man who would go to the food cupboard one town over, and he would take their leftovers. And he was supposed to bring the leftovers out to give to a farmer, that had like pigs. But instead, he went from door to door to the families that he knew was struggling, and he let us pick from what was there first before he dropped it off to the farm. And there would be, like bread from the bakery at the grocery store that had been donated, or, fruits and vegetables that were on the edge of expiring. Like one time I got a whole case of zucchini from the man, and I was able to immediately blanch and freeze it. So if you have any opportunities like that, take advantage of it. Now, in our community right now, we do have a food cupboard. It was started several years ago, but fairly recent. And what they do with their leftovers is they put them on the side of the road on a table, and they just write free. And anybody in town, regardless of their income or circumstance, can pick it up because it's extra and it's going to go to waste. Take advantage of anything like that. When Marissa and I have been thrift shopping, when we go into the thrift stores, the extras from the food cupboards in those towns will be sitting there, like dried beans, canned goods, whatever, for anybody who's thrift shopping, and they will say free because there's extras. Take advantage of any of those things. Don't feel embarrassed or ashamed. Take advantage of it. That's God providing for you and putting it before you. Wild edibles, not so much this time of year, but, do you have dandelions growing in the springtime? We're not necessarily just struggling right now. We can struggle any time of year. And I am just going to put just a little splish splash of that milk over the top. Okay, and here I am. I have my cornmeal mush with the molasses and a little drizzle of milk. And I have my cup of coffee. And let me have a bite. It's delicious. I mean, it's fairly plain, other than the little bit of molasses and milk that I added to it, but it tastes good. It's hot, it's warm, it's a cold day. It tastes great. Okay, let me know. Have you ever made this or something similar to this? I love you guys. I'm going to be praying for you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.